Thank you so much for joining me here today for the online tour of the exhibition, The Day Before the Fall, which is now open in São Paulo until the 6th of June. I'm Clarissa Aidar, and I have curated The Day Before the Fall with support of Apex Art. It has been a journey, and I'm very, very thankful to everyone, especially Elizabeth Larison, for the kindness and patience. It was a pleasure working with you guys, and I highly recommend anyone writing a proposal. So can you hear me well? Yeah, okay. So this proposal was sent in the beginning of 2019. It was a bit after the last national elections in Brazil, a time when a lot had happened, and I personally was feeling quite devastated. It was like this dreadful anticipation of knowing that something terrible was about to come. And I remember during the elections, a woman was murdered in the streets here, a transgender woman, a travesti. She was stabbed to death in Largo do Aroche here in São Paulo. And during the attack, the murderer was shouting the candidate, today the president's name. So I saw that as a kind of foreshow, like an announcement of something that was already in course, but would then become even more evident, even more clear, and even more cruel. And at the same time, you could sense in the art scene or political scene, as well as in the streets, that transgender people were rising in a way, supported by a very strong community, trans, but also indigenous, queer people of color, and others that find a place and really use the energy to uplift and support this community. So I feel that what is growing here right now, what is brewing here is powerful and revolutionary even. And the proposal was then to commission 6 installations, so open a temporary independent art space with 6 installations from artists who are travestis and lived in the city. Installations that spoke to remaining alive, knowing that trans people will continue to exist in the future, of course, as always, but at the same time inhabiting a present, this present, which is full of mourning and pain and violence and exploitation. So how could we prepare and transform and imagine a future which is not the one materializing right now? And the poem that gives name to the exhibition is Our Enemy Says by Bertolt Brecht. It's in the exhibition text, if you guys want to check it later. And it says, they say the fight has ended and it has begun. They say the truth was destroyed, but we still know it and we still spread it. So it's the eve, it's the preparation, it's the study, it's the day before the fall of our enemies. So I like this certainty and I feel this certainty. And at the same time, it's a way to consider the present moment like a time of strengthening and healing and coming together to escape and defeat what's in front of us. And this neighborhood here, downtown São Paulo, was central to the proposal. It's a neighborhood where the trans community is visible and active. The crime, the murder that I just mentioned, happened at the exact same place where the trans pride parade lives from. So it's a place filled, like charged with many memories, history. So it was thus to create possibilities grounded here, while also making this exhibition a space of encounter. And we were going to open, like Abby said, in April 2020, and right before the pandemic. And the original idea was to fill the space with events and gather as many people as possible. And of course, Brazil being the center of the pandemic and disaster all over made it impossible. However, I'm so glad that we could eventually make this into an in-person exhibition and have these encounters, not as we imagine them, but existing anyway. Let me just take a moment before starting talking about the artworks to say that I stand here in solidarity with Palestinian people and that we must demand the end of the ethnic cleansing and the Israeli apartheid. Okay, let's start then. Let's start the tour. So every artist or the artists, they decided what they would do after I showed them the proposal. And also we're gonna have interviews with the artists available next week. If you guys want to check it later, it's nice. So as we enter here, we find Anamnesis, Dreams Distortions by Lucyfer Eclipsa. So she described this installation as looking back at her childhood. So it's about desire, about realizing that what you desire is not available for you and having others' desires projected onto you. Also about how memory unfolds and trauma mutates and gives way to something new. So first there's the cloud, this flush cloud that we cross with huge nails that are like interferences. And this cloud is like a door to her imaginary. So after we enter, we find the bodiless teddy bear who seems to be forming or changing form. And over the drowned body, this like draft of a body that is hanging mobile with hormones. Yes, this. And on the other side, we have the breast flower. It's not an official name, but I've been calling it that way. And I think it reminds me of a character of a video game, or maybe an actual flower from another planet. Eclipsa works mainly digitally, and I think this reminds me of a digital dimension. And it's also the first time that she's working with this material sewing. So I really like how it turned out. I think it gives this entrance something like a cute yet uncanny vibe. So as we keep going, a moment. So we're gonna find to the left the installation called So Far So Close by Raylander Mártis dos Anjos. So what we have here are 3 bathroom doors from a bar of the center of São Paulo. And above it, 3 signs with coordinates to the location of the bar. So Raylander Mártis researches bar bathroom doors for a long time. Bars that she describes as pages that gather and layer different desires, like urgencies and cravings, whether sexual or political, like this urge to make a mark, right? This mark of your presence. And for her, the tension between the public and the private can be felt here in the motivational sentences and dialogues created by this constant coming and going. And these doors, for me, are like portals to something that vibrates in the passageway, something that vibrates on the border. And they also a space of pain, of course. We know that public bathrooms are frequent spaces of violence and transphobia. And you can also feel that in the doors, that is sometimes this passage like mask for mask. And the bar that she got the doors from is like a small bar, corner bar, that sometimes gathers an LGBT crowd at night. although not intentionally. And before the pandemic, I've been to this bar many times. I like open and close these doors, and seeing them removed and exhibited here impressed me in a different way. Like usually I don't pay much attention, just like written doors. In São Paulo, there's like name tagging everywhere. But now I can actually make sense of how many voices and how many names are layered here. So Raylander Mártis usually seeks to establish a dialogue between collective and personal history in her work, a practice that she calls of choir. She has created singing choirs before. And like knowing that, I think they remind me of a choir, like a silent, lost choir. And also really São Paulo for me. Like the city here is so big, there's so many people, and yet maybe it's a cliche to say that, but it's so lonely. And now more than ever, places have closed down. I mean, places are always closing down here. The city has a very short memory, and everything is always for sale. So if you like somewhere, if you cherish memories of a place, you must try to think of ways to hold this memory and remember this place, make your mark before the city tries to erase it as soon as possible. And on the other side, in front of the doors, there's a video that we recorded here before installation. It's a readings video. It's an alternative to the reading night that we had planned before. Also a way to invite others to collaborate and have other voices echoing in the space. So there are 6 readings, and each of the reading is dedicated to one of the installations. Now I see like all the that. Anyway, so the texts were chosen by me, Pedra Costa, and Maria Clara Araújo. They're an average of 6 to 8 minutes long, so they're quite long texts, different, read by also amazing artists and writers. Some are from trans-Brazilian writers such as Maria Rafaela Silva, Maria Clara Araújo, Abigail Campos Leal, Cláudia Wonder, and a text by Matheus Passarelli, who also passed away really brutally a few years ago. Also a text by Audre Lorde, by Leopold von Sacher-Masoch, and Nigerian scholar Oyelonke Oyeyumi. So very different vibes, a bit for each taste, and a beautiful editing by X Genera, which is an audiovisual producer by transmasculine filmmakers. So take a look afterwards. All texts are subtitled. Okay, I think we can go up now. Up and up. Okay, we are arriving. So what we have in front of us that we're gonna approach, it's a Transvision installation by TRANSÄLIEN. So the installation is composed by a 3D panel, ground, and 2 objects functioning as masks. So looking through each of the masks, you see a different image. So first the panel. So the image on the foreground, the one that is more visible with the group, was taken as part of a project by Atelier Transmoras, a project titled Brazil, the World Champion of Travestis. So I think the inversion created here is very intriguing for me, because in the last years, we've heard so many times that Brazil is the country that most kills transgender people, like the highest number of hate attacks. And I think projects such as this reverse this logic. It's a very subtle way to go from narrating trauma and expecting other people's empathy to turn inwards to the community, to celebrate life and those alive around you, and refuse what is expected, which is death. And the green and yellow colors, because it's not so visible, but they're wearing Brazilian t-shirts. And I think this is also taking back a reclaiming, because the national t-shirt, the green and yellow colors, have become a synonym in the past years of these nationalist, conservative, and even insane people. So, for example, if I'm walking down the street and I spot a green and yellow t-shirt, I will certainly like cross the street immediately to spare me from this encounter. I really fear these people. So I think seeing the shirts used here, it's refreshing for me. Like being able to look at these colors with affection again, it's refreshing. And on the background, looking through the black and white mask, you see the Brazilian flag burning. Through the 3D, it seems like it's on the floor, flames a bit ragged. So I think it's a very honest picture of this moment. So TRANSÄLIEN is an artist and member of the Marsha Collective, as well as named after Marsha P. Johnson, and as well as other collectives. Very active, great organizer and creator. And TRANSÄLIEN is well known for her use of masks. She makes and wears them constantly. I remember the first time I ever saw her, like at a party or somewhere years ago, and kind of realizing instantly that I was in front of something very genuine, that she, through her mask, was communicating more than a face could, that she was revealing something intimate, personal, and yet obstructing at the same time this invasive gaze. And I feel in Transvision, the masks play a similar role. They reveal you something and they change your perception if you get close enough to see it. And for here, I think we can go to Scorpionics, Bruna Kury's installation, right in the back. So Bruna Kury is a key figure in the underground performance scene in Brazil. It's crazy actually, because last month she was gathering all academic work published about her, and it's so much. It's really a lot of stuff. And at the same time, she's completely absent from any institution, public or private. And it's the first time that she's presenting objects. So what we have here in the TVs are showing videos of her performances, 3 videos. And the archive, they work to, the function is to elucidate a bit of the process she goes through until arriving at the dildo knife, which is exhibited in the glass box, yes, on the wall. So the dildo knife is an object that she describes as a weapon of counterattack, a way of creating cutting assholes that no longer will endure violence passively. I love that. And the performances that are showing are different. In one, she's introducing the object herself, while another person burns pictures and symbols. It's a public act without audience. And the other 2 happen in front of an audience. In one, Diana Porno Terrorista introduces the object and then leaves Kury alone to perform. And in the last one, Ventura Profana, who's also a great artist in Brazil, introduces the object, and then they perform together and remain together until the end when they hug. So although the object is more or less the same, each of the performance make me feel something very distinctive, and I feel it touches a different point. The glass box with the judo knife. Sorry, I'm always like coming going. So the glass box with the judo knife, as you see, it's filled with cockroaches. The way that she's presenting this object, like surrounded by dirt and cockroaches, also are a sign of her discomfort in entering the gallery, like inhabiting the art space, like unsure of what will be made of her work or her even in the setting, which is a very real, honest concern. And next to it, there's a panel illustrating the dildo knife process. And then we have the Bible, which is a new object. So the Bible is a Bible with a dildo inside and a matter of wax that seems to be falling from it. I don't feel the need to explain so much. I think sometimes less is more, right? But maybe just a quick fact, like talking about TRANSÄLIEN's work and Bruna Kury, is that the slogan of this government right now that we live under, the slogan, 2 sentences repeated and spread everywhere, is Brazil above everything and God above everyone. Whatever that means, right? So I feel Bruna Kury's work is not comfortable to watch, but it sticks with you for a long time. And I feel it makes you realize things about yourself and others. I feel her work, like Castiel Vitorino's, is about unknowability and maybe about knowing and owning your place of power and choosing your weapons accordingly. And I'm really looking forward to see what she does next. So as we continue, we go to Intercession, yes, by Vulcanica Pokaropa. So Vulcanica Pokaropa is also an artist that who creates across different media, like paintings, performance, circles, video making, like you name it, honey, she does it all. The first time I saw her work, it was Desacuenda, which is a series of videos in which she interviews people from artists from the trans community. And then last year, a series of pictures of paintings by her circulated a lot. Paintings that she were depicting trans people murdering white men, some of them very familiar to us. And for this exhibition, she went on exploring sculpting. I really, really like this altar, comprising paintings and sculptures made from found objects, dolls, and religious images that she modifies. There are also feathers, bones, organic material. She said it was important to incorporate nature into an altar dedicated to trans existences that are so many times deemed as unnatural. Vulcanica Pokaropa was raised Catholic and did missionary work in her teenage years until she eventually withdrew from church. And she described her initial inspiration for this work as the altars present in grandmothers' houses. And I feel it carries this power of faith while also challenging the binaries like good and bad, sacred and profane. And I feel it's a very loving installation. There's so many names and messages, friends portrayed, and also archetypes. And still there's this energy of war, this energy of combat, which is so visible and present on her previous works. And what else? I think the image also, they're likewise, like they're image that are cutting and bleeding, but so tender. They're like sanctified yet dangerous, and I like that. As I said in the exhibition text that I think it testifies for the sacredness of the community, for the ancestors, and for a history that's constantly erased, but also a testimony and also dedicated to the ones alive right now. As Vulcanica Pokaropa describes her documentation of people she knows as coming from the fear of losing them, coming from the fear of losing the registers of them speaking for themselves, creating with the fear that your own work will be suddenly interrupted by violence. So like always this feeling of immediacy that surrounds precariousness. Okay, as we cross, I think we can cross to the other side. It's so silent. So as we cross, we'll find Castiel Vitorino Brasileiro's Who Are You to Lay on My Bed? So Castiel Vitorino is a psychologist and artist who in the last year exhibited a lot in Brazil and internationally. I feel it's a very powerful, beautiful, and clearly driven work. Grounded in travesti spirituality, which is a collective rooting into the earth that blurs temporalities and produces health. Castiel Vitorino also writes beautifully, and I really recommend researching more, reading her. And I think Castiel Vitorino has a very particular rhythm, like a movement. I always feel there's like a movement that feels like a dance. It's like a to and fro between opposites. Not opposites, but seeming opposites. She moves between like remembering, forgetting, remembering, or life, death, life. And I feel through this movement, the body becomes a site of memory and a site for the production of knowledge. I think she says that for a travesti Black body to wander through life, for them to be able to keep wandering, transforming, and escaping, they must be bodily savvy. So I feel the movement, it also works to create this sharpness of the body. Castiel Vitorino's work has central concepts such as transmutation, inhabiting the crossings and the unpredictable, and healing and escaping through macumbaria. So she's a macumbeira. She practices macumba, which is an Afro-Brazilian religious practice. So, who are you to lay on my bed? This sentence is a verse from a song, a chant actually sang to pombagiras, who are feminine, connected to macumba as well, are feminine entities who in life defied and resisted sexist colonial violence. Castiel Vitorino told me that this work changed, transformed after she recently suffered an episode of violence. So the violence, this well-known familiar violence destined to the feminine, especially to disobedient, dissident feminine bodies. So she described this salt and earth around the bed as a labyrinth. And in the middle, she's doing a ritual of grounding, balancing and nurturing the body. So I feel this movement here created by two forms of protection in place so as to create what she describes as a perishable space of freedom. I think Castiel Vitorino has an incredible power of redirecting and transforming energy that can be very potent for the people that she intends to reach, if she can reach them. And there is one particular writing of her that I like, in which she says that she welcomes life and death, but refuses annihilation. So annihilation, in my perception, is when life is drained out of you, like stolen and exploited. So refusing annihilation then is at the core of surviving. It's a collective movement that demands this very acute perception of life and everything surrounding life, and demands also the courage to move through unpredictable grounds and to desire something that is not being offered and will never be offered. It must be taken. And so I feel there are two directions at which this exhibition aims at. And one is create, like, imagining ways of living with freedom, plotting for freedom, realizing that we can still dream of freedom, that we don't have to dream of success, we can dream of freedom. And the other is creating weapons really, for protection against those men who wish to destroy and annihilate all forms of life, but they won't. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. And I see some claps going around from the videos. So thank you so much, Clarissa. It was really beautiful to get to walk through the space with you and really like illuminate so much of the works and the themes. And so thank you. I want to open it up for people to unmute if you'd like to ask a question or share a thought or a comment or something that came up for you, or if you'd like so this is kind of our space to talk if we would like, or to leave a comment, either with your microphone unmuted or on the chat. So I'll give a little bit of a moment for people to jump in if you'd like.
Come on, people.
I'll start us off if that's all right, and give people time to reflect. But I know the opening was a few weeks ago now. So how was the opening, and how has it been in Brazil and having people come through the space? And
the opening was so nice. Like, it's been so long that we haven't met anyone. So I think people are are kind of out of control, just so excited to meet each other. So it was nice to see like Cody, the cat is here. So it was nice. It was so nice. I think there's a really good response. Also because there are so many people involved because we have the video, we have the text. So people know each other. So I think there's a sense of community and it's been nice. Of course, I think it's not so crowded. Like people are still afraid of like leaving. People are not leaving so much, but it's been fun. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. We have a question on the chat that I'll read aloud from Denise, if that's all right.
Yeah.
They say, what do you think is important when working with minorities in order to become allies of the struggle?
Okay, I think maybe it's like a question better asked, like the artists themselves. But maybe some of my concerns when creating a space that's not centered on my existence, or maybe just entering a space that's not centered on my existence, is to move slowly at first and quietly so as to realize who is there and what is being produced there. So like realizing that I'm not creating something afresh, but I'm creating a space within a bigger space. So trying to respect what already exists there. And I don't know, honestly asking myself if what I'm proposing will be valuable for others, if I'm not tokenizing anybody or putting people in the place of clowns or something exotic to be looked at. And yeah, and then just like, I don't know, I think the ally, it seems sometimes sounds weird to me. Like now this word has come to Brazil, like after Black Lives Matter, since the ally has arrived. And then it's sometimes I think when these words are like start to be repeated so much, we don't know if this person means exactly what I mean with the meaning of ally. So sometimes I try to understand what is the ally, and I see like many allies, but sometimes it's hard to see the alliance. So it's like something very abstract for me. And I'm very like a material girl living in a material world. So I prefer like to focus in the alliances themselves, which I can see. So I know exactly who I'm working with and what can I do, what is happening there. So I personally don't like consider myself an ally like of all people, but a person that like needs to build alliances in order to survive. I think, yeah.
Yeah. Going slowly. I appreciate that. It's just emotion. I think, well, we are at time. It goes by so fast. I wish we could keep staying. I do have a question unless someone would like to jump in with another. I don't want to take up too much. But I do notice you would... Oh yeah, oh go ahead, yes, please.
Hi Clarissa. Thank you for your exhibition. I'm really glad you do well, and I really appreciate being here. And I'd like to just know about after coronavirus, the things changed a lot in São Paulo in the gender community or the trans people community things. I heard it from you some time to time that the employees they don't have a job anymore. Also the wars and the situation is really going bad. So I just would like to know how is it different after Corona and before Corona? Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, sure. So before Corona was catastrophic, and after Corona is hell. Uh, I think actually, like trans communities and communities in general, they have become closer. Like they need actually these partnerships because there's no support from like government. So you actually depend on these networks that are like communal. So I feel that people are doing like they're going through and they're managing to survive because of these networks that were built before, and now they are like getting stronger.
Oh, that sounds nice. Okay, thank you.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Clarissa, as well. Just wonderful to see your show or have the chance to from afar. It's been really special that way. And then this is when we hit our time at our events, we like to open it up for everyone to unmute as they leave and say a thank you, say a goodbye, to add your voice to the end so we don't all leave in silence, but so we can kind of applaud and celebrate together. So thank you all, and it was wonderful to
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks so much. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.